Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? What you are about to witness is real.
This is not a dream, but a new beginning.
Stand by for uplink.
The Don Hanston Show, straight up.
Thank you.
GPS uplink now completed with Google Earth. Commencing the official countdown in 3, 2, 1.
And now your hosts, Don and...
Welcome to Straight Up, the Don Hanston Show. Along with Don, I'm Sal. We're going to be with you for about a half hour. We got an interesting topic to talk about today. Don, how are you doing?
Doing great today.
Good to hear. Good to see you again, my friend. Don, I figured today,
Good to see you, man.
No notes. I wanted to do a show basically like just a conversation. They have a conversation with you. Yeah.
Off the cuff, right? Yeah.
And what I
Sounds
really
good to
want
me.
to talk about is the price of free speech in our country, or the ultimate price of free speech in our country. Because it seems lately that we have free speech, but we really don't. Because just speaking freely, a lot of people are suffering monumental consequences, including death, as we learned. So I was just wondering if you feel the same way, that our free speech has definitely been controlled lately, and why? What do you think?
Wow, it's a loaded question. There's a lot behind that one. Okay. Obviously, Sal came up with this topic based on yesterday, Charlie Kirk getting killed, right? We don't want to run that one into the ground, but I think the free speech, okay, has been taken away from us. We have lost a lot of our privacy and the free speech. Now, the free speech is free to say if you go along with, agendas, right? If you say the things that they're trying to indoctrinate and destroy our children and everybody else around us, if you speak in that language, okay, then they're not going to come after you. But if you speak logic, okay, if you speak common sense, if you speak perspective that may actually inspire thought for somebody, they're going to come at you, okay? And I'm going to throw this one in perspective real quick on the Charlie Kirk thing, okay? All right, this guy was killed. It's a 31-year-old guy. He grew up, went to the same school my kids went to, actually. And anyways, he was a movement to help kids at these campuses to try and get them back into common sense thinking and things that will actually create betterment for them in their lives, and it went against all of the indoctrination that went along in a lot of these colleges in the educational system. Now, if you think about this, I mean, people can say it's left, it's whatever. I agree it's the left agenda, but I think it's above the politicians. As a matter of fact, I think it's the organizations that actually run our politicians. And I don't really know all of these organizations, but let's just use like the WEF, right? The World Economic Forum, that Klaus Schwab, that guy is completely demented, and all he cares about is basically, our demise, right? So certain people can prosper, and that's why they come at so they put billions and billions and billions of dollars in our educational system to destroy our children from within. Now you can't have a guy that's pushing common sense and logic, right? And exposing the truth, because you can't have that when you spend all this money and all this time trying to create this cycle to indoctrinate these people. So, aside from the Charlie Kirk thing, obviously his trained assassin, and it was all put together in order to execute this guy so he could stop bringing the message along to our children. It goes in a lot of different senses, and as far as free speech, I mean, we've given up our privacy, right? Everything's online, right? If you own a business, if you speak one way or the other, people are going to boycott your business. If you're woke, right, the conservative people are going to boycott it, and if you're conservative, the woke's going to boycott it, and it's really about division. And so, really, I'll let you talk in a minute, but really, what it boils down to is if you speak the language that they want you to speak, they're probably not going to come after you. They're not going to use the medias against you to slander your name, and they're not going to send trained assassins to come and get you. But I think if you do speak their language, they're going to protect you, possibly give you money. They're going to help you out in whatever way, shape, and form that they can.
Okay, so I agree with what you're saying. So let me just see if I can get this, maybe a cliff notes on what you said. And no, and that's good because you got me there. You got me to where I was supposed to be. So to reiterate, what you're kind of saying is that if you own a business, which, like say Target or Bud Light, it's almost best just to keep your mouth shut. Don't play your cards. Don't show your hand. This way you could still attract both sides of the spectrum of whatever the country's going through. And right now this country's very divided. So what you're saying is it's almost better just to keep quiet. Don't take a stance on anything if you own a business. Because like Michael Jordan said with Nike, he said, I don't want to, the other half of the country buys shoes too. And I'm just kind of going at this in a roundabout way. So you own a business. You don't want to put your political views or how you feel up on Facebook or anything like that that could be tied to you. Because if somebody doesn't agree with your politics, they're probably not going to use your business. Basically is what you're saying, right?
And they're going to slander your business. Yes.
Okay, right. And that makes sense. And I know that happens. And I know it happens with the left, like Bud Light and everything, and Target, that the people on the right, the people who are not woke, spoke up and started to boycott those brands, and they had to do an about face, and turn and change it. So is that free speech then being, taken away? Yeah.
Manipulated? Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you another analogy that has nothing to do with speech, okay? It's what you like. So we're here in Chicago, right? And let's say I'm a North Sider. I love the Cubs, right? I slap a Cub sticker on the bumper, right? I gotta go to the South Side for something. Windows get smashed out of the car, or vice versa. You got a White Sox sticker, and you go into the North Side, and they're like, "This son of a bitch," and then they crash your windows out. Like, you got to be like nondescript nowadays, otherwise people want to attack you. If you don't like what they like, they want to attack you. So, I mean, is it a governmental thing? I think it partially is, because I think they've created a lot of division, but for the votes and all that other nonsense. But I think that they've created this monster that's not going to go away anytime soon, because people are not willing to disagree, and people are not willing to have somebody that has a different opinion than them, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, because I've said this 5 bazillion times, no two people think alike. So why is it so important that everybody else believes what you believe, right? And so, but the ultimate cost, like we were talking about Charlie Kirk, right? Yeah. Death, right? Execution. That's, I mean, and then, I was watching a couple of videos, and so it connected me to other videos that I wouldn't, and they had like these complete idiots going, it was a bad thing, but, I'm glad it happened because bad things need to happen to bad people. Yeah. I'm like, he's a bad person because he's trying to interject logic into a college campus and help the kids learn how to debate when they don't agree. I mean, it just shows you how brainwashed these people have become. And it really blows my mind that people are celebrating and cheering that a 31-year-old married man, okay, with children, that's out there to try and better kids, is a target for execution, and he should die. Like that, like it really shows you how like screwed up we are as a civilization.
It definitely does. And you know what? And this kind of goes along with everything he stood for. Because when he would go on these college campuses, he was constantly, I want to say, attacked verbally. People coming at him and saying why he's wrong. And he would, to me, he was one of the best. He could sit there and have a discussion and just rip your theory apart. I mean, in a calm fashion of having a discussion. And if you disagreed with anything that he said. If he knew you were in the audience and you had a big disagreement with him, he told his guys to bring you up to the front of the line because he wanted to
Yep.
talk to you immediately. But so let me ask you this. There was a guy, a host, and I don't have his name in front of me, from MSNBC, who put a statement out there and said that
I read
Charlie
that this
Kirk
morning.
kind of created this problem for himself, and he did this to himself with the things he said and
He
did.
got what he deserved.
And as of this morning, MSNBC, which is now going to be MS Now, has fired him. He is no longer allowed on the air for MSNBC. Now, I agree with that because I think what he's saying is hateful speech. But is he really? Or are we taking away his freedom of speech too, Don?
Well, the news is supposed to be, it's not freedom of speech. It's supposed to be factual data, right?
Well, depending on the show.
If three men were killed in a certain area, and they were a certain racial profile, and they were a certain height and a certain color eyes and a certain whatever, yeah, that is factual data. That's what the news is supposed to be about. The news isn't supposed to be the same thing that our show right here is about. This is our perspective, right? The news is different. The news is always supposed to be about factual data and just sharing the data. And what it's turned into is it's turned into a brainwashing machine because all these guys got something to say, and then like, it's got nothing to do with the data. It's got to do with manipulating the data so they can push their agenda, and that's what it boils down to. It's a brainwashing machine. It's no longer factual data.
Yes, the news.
That's my
Right,
opinion.
and
on it.
everybody knows if they tune in here, that this is based on our opinion. We're not telling anybody how to think. Obviously, we think the listeners and the viewers have enough common sense to make up their own mind, their own opinion. And that's what I hope happens here. But with a show like, or a network like MSNBC, which has now changed it to MS Now, and they also put something in there about, I believe it says something like a political opinion. So they covered themselves by saying that it's an opinion-based network now. So the show that this guy was on, I think, was more or less his opinion. So I don't think he was going on there expected to be factual. So does that change things now?
Well,
Because that was his opinion.
well, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got them, and they all stink, right? I mean, that's the saying. But honestly, like a perspective, I think a perspective and an opinion is somewhat similar.
Yeah.
I guess maybe if that's not considered news anymore, if it's just a show with some fucking guy on there, then that's fine. But if it's news, if we said this is the Don Hansen news station,
Right.
okay, then we should be criticized for anything that's not factual that we say. But it's not. This is for entertainment. This is for perspective. And this is to kind of open up your mind and hopefully inspire a little bit of thought, hopefully a little bit of common sense. That's what this show is about. The show is not about sharing actual facts. I mean, I don't even know half the names for half of these people that we're talking about. I don't really care. People know who I'm talking about. And I don't have all the numbers, exact numbers, but the more I'm reading the news, they state numbers, actual numbers that are not they're not accurate numbers. So again, I'm going back at the news. The news is supposed to be actual factual data, and if it's not, then it's not the news.
Should have this guy been fired then?
This guy, I think that whole station should have recourse from that. You cannot. This is what's caused this problem. Okay, they push this hate, right? Well, there's no reason this guy should be hated. He was a really good man, right? He was a young guy. He was a good guy. He was trying to create betterment. He wasn't a bad guy. Even if you didn't agree with him, he wasn't not a bad person. They're mad at him and they'll kill him, but Anthony Fauci's going to poison the whole fucking earth with his shit, and nobody wants. I mean, like the hate speech that they push on these news agendas, it's just for a political reason, okay? And if you see all these people that are actual enemies of the state, okay? nobody really cares because it's on the right side of the agenda. It's they're making money, but they're also the ones that own all the media and all the propaganda that goes
it's the
out.
hateful rhetoric, and that's what I was telling someone yesterday, which spews this garbage, because somebody put out that of course we need gun control, but you're not hearing the whole gun control from the left right now because it doesn't suit their agenda. Because not someone from their side, their political affiliation, was gunned down and assassinated, which normally they start screaming for gun control. But I also heard people say, well, it's a mental health issue, which, okay, I've gone on that route before. I said, you're never going to stop these school shootings and stuff until you're able to cure crazy. I think I said that the very first show I came on with you. And I still stick by that. But if you're going to sit there and say that there's a mental health issue, I agree. But when you have people out there that have mental conditions, and you're spewing this hateful rhetoric day in and day out, odds are somebody's going to be listening to you. Now, I'm pretty sure the guy that took the shot to take out Charlie Kirk thought to himself that I'm doing a good thing. I'm sticking up for our people because this country needs to be gone of people like this. He needs to be eliminated. And this is the problem I have with the far left spewing this hateful rhetoric. I mean, sitting there day in and day out calling President Trump Hitler. What do you expect is going to happen? Sooner or later, somebody who's not in the right frame of mind is going to do something, try to take matters into their own hands because they think, oh my God, he's Hitler. Like they said, well, he's sending troops to the cities. You know what's next? He's going to take your guns. And this is what happened, with Hitler. And everybody starts thinking this is what's going to happen. So when you have somebody who doesn't have proper common sense, they think, well, I'm going to help the world and no one will fault me for this. I'm going to eliminate the threat. All because of the hateful rhetoric.
Well, it goes back to the media, right? And the media is I call it the brainwashing machine, right? They say something over and over and over again, and they get all the other stations that are similar to say the same thing. I don't know if you've ever seen those memes that they make where they're all saying the same words,
we
right?
talked about it on this show.
And
yeah.
And if you know about hypnotism, okay, it's agreement, right? And how do you get someone to agree with you? It's on a gradient level, but it's saying the same thing over and over. They could tell you something over and over again. 5 million times, no matter what station you listen to, and you're going to hear it so many times that you're going to believe it. And they could tell you, whatever they want to tell you, and you're going to believe it. It's the brainwashing machine. So they own the brainwashing machine, so they can create the animal. So they don't. A lot of these heinous things that happen, I think a lot of them are created from within. But I think, in a grand scheme of things, I think the brainwashing machine, like you said, this hateful rhetoric, right, toward the people that they don't want, and really what it does is it empowers the people that have been brainwashed to do the executions, right, to do all the dirty work, right, and so like it's kind of like how the CIA used to like handle a lot of the people that would work for them, their operatives, right. They would do a lot of really nasty things, and they would basically totally brainwash them, and then they'd be trained assassins. And it's no different than using the media to create trained assassins from the public, right? I mean, there's plenty of guys that have been in the military. There's plenty of guys that are equipped to do all kinds of stuff. That all they have to do is put out their message, and before you know it, we have our operatives, and they're going to do our dirty work. So that's part of it. The other part is, like a lot of these people, they view good and they view evil based on their political view. Okay, and I'm more angry about all of this. The free speech being taken away, or the ultimate price of free speech, is when somebody's out there and they're attempting to do good. Now, I guess it goes along with the perspective, right? Somebody could say, "Oh, Anthony Fauci was out to do good," but really he wasn't, because if you look at it, it was just it was a grab for money, and it was a grab for power. That's really what it was. And I guess you could say it on the other side of the coin too. You could say this Charlie Kirk guy. Oh, he was doing it for money, and he was doing it for to be well known, right? And so I guess you could say that about him, but really he was just trying to interject some common sense into people and help people understand something from a different point of view. He wasn't doing it so he could bend them over and take all their money like they did with the with the coronavirus, right? And basically that was damaging people as well. So I don't know if that's a good analogy to you, but I think that a lot of this stuff is based on politics, not on what's good for when people are out there trying to better other people. That's a different story. But when people are trying to utilize other people so they can make money or gain power, that's evil as far as I'm
this
concerned.
was definitely a political thing, because I don't think it was a money thing in this reference. They just wanted to take him out. But I mean, when you have the hateful rhetoric coming from the far left, I mean, you think about what happened 24 years ago. And now you think that we have, in Congress, we have the Squad, which is AOC, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib. Those are 3 Muslim people. One of them had a Palestine flag outside her office at the Capitol. When you think about how we got to this point, and what they come out and say constantly, well, I mean, look at Joe Biden last year in one of his speeches. Do you remember what he said? He said the biggest threat to this country's democracy is the white man. That's hateful rhetoric. That tells people that a white guy like you or me, we're the problem. We're the enemy. Charlie Kirk, he's the enemy. President Trump, he's the enemy. Let's take 2 shots at him. Let's take him out. I mean, look at the kid that shot him when he hit him in the ear. I mean, that was a young kid who's, goes out there and he hears this stuff, because let's face it, a lot of kids these days, which we've talked about, they get their news from TikTok, they get their news from YouTube. Not to mention they're in these classrooms and they go into these universities where they're indoctrinated with this far left BS. So they come out thinking, I'm doing the right thing. I heard the president say it last year. You're our biggest enemy. You're the problem. You're the threat to our democracy. You're going to put guns on the street. You're going to take our rights away. I mean, look what they were saying. I think it was, what's his face? I can't think of his name now. One of the guys on the left, I just can't think of his name. He came out a couple of weeks ago and said, you need to fight ICE. We need to fight them. We need to make sure that they're trying to pass legislation that ICE can't wear the mask. When all these guys were fighting for everybody to wear masks for how many years? Oh, you need to put a mask on. Now they want them to be exposed so their families are exposed. This is the hateful rhetoric coming from the left. Every day they spew this stuff. And there's an audience out there that are listening and paying attention. And that's why we have these incidents that are, I'm sorry to say, I think it's only going to get a lot worse.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that the indoctrination has worked. Again, I think that's the reason why this Kirk was he was a direct threat to all of their attempts or their progress, whatever you want to call it, by interjecting all this money into all of these school systems and programs and teachers and institutions, right, to basically destroy our youth, and it destroys the family from within. But all for a vote, all for power and money, and and we see where our money, where our money's gone, and it's based on all of this, destroying the entire country from within. And I read something this morning, and it said something about last 4 years has made all the young people aware that they should have nothing and be happy about it, right? And they shouldn't own a house. They should rent. They shouldn't own a car. They should rent a scooter, with their phone. They shouldn't own anything, and they should be totally happy about it. And then they wonder why all these kids got all these mental problems and all these issues going on. It was never like that
No,
when
it
we were
wasn't.
young.
I didn't know
you know what I
anything
mean?
about politics when I was younger. And the guy I was trying to think of was Chuck Schumer. So that's the guy I was thinking of.
Well, I figured it was either Tweedledee or Tweedledum,
And
one of
then
those
you
idiots.
had Maxine Waters come out, if you remember last year, saying if you see one of these MAGA guys or these people on the right, you go up to them on the street and you get in their face. I mean, they're encouraging a problem. I don't know if it's violence, but
That would be like the other side saying if you see this Maxine
Right.
Waters, you know what I mean? You know, jump her and interrogate her, right? And then it would happen, and then she'd be like, "Oh my
what
God!"
party
you know,
showed
yeah,
up
you
at
know.
the ICE detention center in New Jersey over the summer and created a small riot and were pushing the ICE people? It was the left, the far left. We don't hear about this from the right because the right doesn't do this. And I think the people that are MAGA and everything, I mean, have you heard of any assassination attempt on Kamala, Biden, Pritzker here in Illinois? No, because the right doesn't think that way.
Well, what's interesting about that point that you're making, I think I was looking. I was after the Kirk thing. I was looking at some social media, which I don't really look at anymore, and all of these ex-presidents, you know, like Obama, right,
Yeah.
Clinton, Biden, Kamala Harris, they're all like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is horrible," and this, you know, I don't condone this type of behavior. It's awful, and this and that. And I was reading this stuff, and before I even read the Barack Obama one, I said, "Yeah, they're all afraid that now all of a sudden they're going to be targets, right?" So, I mean, nobody wants to be a moving target, right? And if they're going to start like assassinating people because of viewpoints, like they don't want to be in that list. So it was funny. I was talking to somebody about that, and like 5 minutes, I said, "I wonder what Barack Obama would have to say." And sure enough, it shows up. Bleep. Yeah, Barack, you know, me and Michelle are so saddened, and you know this and that. And then I said to my friend, I said, "Do you really think that Barack Obama gives a fuck that Charlie Kirk was killed? No, he will not say that he celebrates it like the rest of these idiots, but he guaranteed he
And
celebrates
he's worried,
that."
like you said, like, hey, if they can go after this guy, they can come after us. And you know,
You're just sitting there, and next thing you know, you're
I mean,
dead.
for a political opinion. And this guy was very religious too. And you know what the bottom line is too, as we're winding down, we only have a few more minutes left, is that Charlie Kirk was just like a journalist. That's all he was. He wasn't even a politician.
Just a guy, man.
He wasn't a
Just a
politician.
guy.
He had nothing to do with policy or changing anything. Do I think he had a strong hand in convincing Gen Z to vote for President Trump? Yes. I think he would have still won President Trump, but I'm not sure it would have been such a landslide without the help of people like Charlie Kirk. So I think he helped him a lot. But we have to remember, this guy is just a journalist. He's just a podcaster. He's just somebody expressing his opinion, trying to convince people to turn to God, and regardless of what your belief is. He wasn't even a politician, and he got assassinated. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I know we could spend hours talking about this, but I'm glad we had time to bring this up, and I would love to hear what the people have to say. Give us a comment if you can, and let us know what you think. Do you disagree with anything that me and Don said? Are we forgetting anything? We would like to know. You can send us a message, send us an email. We would love to hear from you, and it's straightupdonhanson@gmail.com. Go ahead, Don. You have something you want to say?
Yeah. I just want to throw one more real quick story in. Okay, so I did an Airbnb. I had to go out of town for some business, and place was awful. Right, no parking. There's bugs. Okay, they turned off the plumbing for 2 days. Okay, the whole thing. Right. Well, and then at the end of this, I didn't call them beef because I used the health club. It's fine. So I left the place, and they sent this thing. You got to give a review on this place, right? And I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, they can give a review on me as a client, but they're waiting for me to review them. Okay, so my freedom of speech to say, hey, you know what? Please don't go there, because I don't want to taint somebody else's business. But it would be nice if somebody let me know so I wouldn't use this place. because it was, it wasn't cheap. Anyways, and so I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I asked my secretary, I go, what do you think? And she goes, I don't waste my time with that stuff. I said, because I hate getting a bad review. And I said, I wonder if I put a bad review in, if I would get a bad review from them, okay, which would affect me being able to rent other Airbnbs. So I just blew it off. So the bottom line is, I think the freedom of speech it's shown that it's there for you, but it's really not. So if they can wait for you to give them a bad review, and then they can give you a bad review, just like Uber can do for you,
the same thing,
right? Yeah. Then is there really a freedom of speech?
There's not. And it's like Yelp that you give the bad reviews, and I don't know if you know this. I have friends that are in the restaurant industry. If you are a paying member of Yelp, you have an opportunity to delete negative reviews, but you have to pay a monthly fee for that. Yes.
I didn't know that.
That's what I was told.
Wow.
That's how it was a few years ago. I don't know if it's still that way. But you're right. That is, going against free speech, because if you speak your mind and say something freely, well, there's going to be consequences for you. Just like
exactly
going out in public and trying to convince people to think before they vote. And some people pay the ultimate price. But a good show, an interesting story. Right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Want to remind you that we're available on all your favorite podcast outlets, Apple, Overcast. We're also available on Spotify, Rumble, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Audio also. You could pick up our show. And I got to tell you, Spotify has a real nice setup for our show. I was on there a couple weeks ago because I've been out of town and listening to it, and it's really great. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you can, hit the bell to be notified when new episodes drop. That really helps us out. Just give us a like, and that helps us out, and it helps us create more content like this. And be sure to check out our website, which is donhanston.com. And like I said, send us an email, straightupdonhanston@gmail.com. And hopefully we'll be with you guys again real soon. Don, thank you. Another great show. And we will see you guys again next time on Straight Up, the Don Hanston Show.
Check us out at Don Hanston Show for videos, podcasts, discussion boards, and more.